The fear of being laid off has now claimed a life. A 25-year-old techie from Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh slashed his wrist nearly 25 times before jumping to his death from the 6th floor of a hotel. His last words in his suicide note were that there is no job security in the IT sector and he is worried about his family.
Gopi Krishna Durga Prasad used to work in an IT firm here in the tech park on the 5th floor in a company, in an IT firm named Pitney Bowes, and he committed suicide bang opposite the Fortune Hotel that you see here, right, jumping from the top of the hotel.
मेरे को रात को फ़ोन आया जो हमारे नाइट में मैनेजर होते हैं कि ऐसा एक इंसिडेंट हो गया है, आप आ दीजिए। मेरे पहुंचने से पहले पुलिस, डॉक्टर, एम्बुलेंस सब आ चुका था।
The deceased, who is survived by his parents and a sister, had worked in Delhi and Hyderabad earlier before he moved to Pune to start his new job only this month. The police says that they will be speaking to his colleagues in the company and family members as part of the investigation.
Information to join, and on the same 11th night is early morning of 12th, about 1:30, he committed jump from the 5th floor of that hotel Fortune where he was staying, and he committed suicide.
As the lack of jobs clearly becomes the government's biggest problem, the suicide of 25-year-old Gopi Krishna Durga Prasad comes as a wake-up call. Now the big question is, will the government and the industry continue to be in denial? Mira Now report.
Well, we've been talking about job loss within the IT sector for a while now, and the thing that's most concerning today is when job loss has finally claimed a life. A 25-year-old young man slitting his wrists 25 times and then jumping out of a window to his death. What was going on within the IT sector to cause him that much distress? And is it time now for the government to step in and intervene and examine the manner in which these employees are being removed from their jobs? Over the last week or so, we have continued to receive phone calls and emails from people across the country sharing their stories about the inhumane manner in which they're being removed from their jobs and how they're being threatened about talking about it. We want the government to now intervene. Joining me on the show this evening, Arvind Gupta. He's the former convener of the IT cell and the tech head. He's with the BJP. Sanjay Jha is the national spokesperson of the Congress party. Rituparna Chakraborty is the president of the Indian Staffing Federation and the co-founder of TeamLease. Krish Lakshmikant is the managing director of Headhunters India. Amit Kemka is a senior advocate. E. Raja is the coordinator of the Forum for IT Employees. And we have one person who joins us right now who wants his identity to be concealed, who tells us is a senior process associate who was removed from his job. This is where we are, and I also want to point out to our audience that we couldn't get anybody from NASSCOM to join this conversation today. We couldn't get representation from the industry. While the company in question has put out a statement saying that they feel terrible, and let me just read that out for you. We haven't been able to get anybody to join this particular conversation. This is the company's statement. This is Pitney Bowes, who have said, we are heartbroken by the tragic loss of our young colleague, and we offer our deepest condolences to his family and friends. That's the statement that's coming in from Pitney Bowes. This is the company that this Pune techie was working for when he decided to jump out of that window and take his life. To start with Arvind Gupta, who represents the BJP. Mr. Gupta, do you believe that the BJP, that the government now needs to intervene and perhaps take stock of what's going on when it comes to the retrenchment in the IT sector?
See, like in any industry, I think fair HR policy should be followed as an overarching role of ensuring employee sustainability, productivity. The responsibility primarily lies Number one, with the companies themselves, because their brand is at stake. But I think as a society, as a government, the bigger role is to make sure that correct procedures, processes are followed when people are taken off their roles or retrenched, or whatever the word would be, correct HR word would be. But I think the industry, whether it's an IT industry or any other industry, goes through its natural ups and downs. What we are seeing in the IT industry in India is a phenomena that was long in making. There were double-digit growths for many years. The engineering education sector boomed in India, and resultant of that was that IT sector became, or IT BPO sector in India became the silver bullet for all cures, and everybody was studying engineering to really get that prize job. Now, from those highs, I think we are seeing a dip. Definitely, there is no denying that, because globally automation is taking place. There are new technologies that have come up, and not all of our industries, whether that's a BPO industry or the IT industry, has kept up with that pace of digitization and disruption that is happening globally. So I think we have multiple problems here. The solutions are also there, and there are solutions in the work. Both the industry need to be very much more responsible.
What are the solutions in the work?
The industry needs to be much more responsible. Oh, no, solutions not from a HR perspective, from a technology perspective.
From a government perspective, what are the solutions in the work from the government perspective? From a government perspective, what are the solutions in the works?
Let me complete that, please. What I was trying to explain to you is the industry is self-correcting itself in the kind of skills that they need to possess to make sure they are relevant going forward. What business model a company follows, no government can decide that. What we have to ensure is that the right policies are being followed, right HR processes are being followed when people are taken off the roles. And that is the role that the government has played and will continue playing that.
Let me bring in our guest in the Noida studio who had been laid off not long ago. Do you believe that the government is playing that role, and do you buy the argument that companies should be following the rules, and are they following the rules? Were they following the rules when you were let go off?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Actually, I respect each and every single one in the panel here. We have legal advisors, we have corporate giants and their representatives as well. But I'm an individual who got fired yesterday. So I humbly request an audience, just for 2 minutes. Ever since the moment you sign the signing letter, the moment you sign the offer letter, you are bound to all the liabilities. Okay, and somehow, sometime, it is going to come back to you. Okay, they have everything they need from day one. Okay, you signed the paper, and in the paper it has been written like that. It's a 17 page, back and front, both, offer letter. Who reads it? Okay, and the second thing is, they do not care about your, about your future, about your career. They are blunt. They do not care who you are. As an individual, 3 days from now, I'll be turning 25. And I'll be standing in front of my father, jobless, disgusted. This guy who committed suicide, I can feel his pain more than anybody else can do this time. It is about time. I mean, I have been receiving SMSs, text messages, that blah blah IT companies hiring non-IT graduates for this and that. Let me tell you what these guys are doing and what is a day in the afterlife will look like. Firstly, they targeted the IT graduates. Okay, now the laying off has started. Then later on, they are going to target the non-IT graduates. Of course, for them, working for a big brand and an IT brand, which they used to hear on TV, is going to be amazing. So they are going to use them as well. The thing is, you will never be treated as a human, as an individual. You will never be given the respect. Okay, You people ask me if they humiliate you. No, they do not humiliate you. They harass you. They don't consider that you are a human being. That guy who committed suicide because he feared rejection. Yes, of course. Why am I hiding my face right now? If I show you my face, no company will go ahead and hire me again. This is a big thing. If there is a time to fight, it is now. It is about time we start fighting and let these corporate giants know that, okay, you cannot fire anything right now. Because overall, all over the country, there would be 100, 150 cases right now. But we have confirmed news that even a single company is willing to fire 5,000 employees. Another company is willing to fire 10,000 employees. I mean, what are we waiting for? 100 cases and a guy has committed suicide. What is going to happen when there are 25,000 layoffs in 1 year? Where will we go then? It is about time that we held someone responsible for that and let them know that you cannot fire anybody like that.
But
And the reasons they give you, I mean, I was having my HR session. Okay, we were sitting face to face. There was a 3.5 feet wide wooden table between us. And my HR was a lady, that too a lady. Okay, the distance between her index finger and my face was less than 10 inches. Such rude and aggressive approach. A individual goes into the HR room thinking that I have been an employee of this company. What would the HR do? Come have a seat and we'll discuss something. Come out to a solution. But the moment you enter that dark room, like the first thing that comes to your mind is, what have I done? What has happened to the HR? What has he eaten? Has somebody told him some very bad thing? Is it my HR session or somebody else's HR session? I work, sir, madam, for 12 to 14 hours a day. You do your work, you type something. Okay, I do the advertising part. Your fingers ache, your hands ache. I used to embalm my hands and wrap them up in bandages, and if I ran out of bandages, I used to wrap them up in handkerchief to sleep at night. I worked on the Independence Day, the Dussehra. There is no leave, there is no system at all. And when the day I know, I asked for the reason to my manager, sir, why am I not being promoted? It's okay if I lack in some area, tell me that area and I'll improve that area. But the moment you ask it about the promotion, about the future, totally inhumane. I mean, no person should be treated like that.
Right.
I don't know why they do that, but
I'm going to come back to you, but I just want to point out a couple of things. There is a letter that has been written to Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath of Uttar Pradesh by the employees of Tata Consultancy Services, because they have been told that the Lucknow Centre will be closed, and 2,000 employees in the Lucknow Centre have been told that the projects are being moved to Indore. Employees are being asked to take transfers to Indore or bear the consequences. They have asked for the Chief Minister to intervene. Now, over and above that, in the firing line, according to reports by various newspapers, Infosys had let go of 8,000 to 9,000 employees over the course of 2016. Wipro fired 10% of its employees over 2016. Cognizant, 6,000 to 10,000 employees. Tech Mahindra fired 1,500 employees. Capgemini fired 9,000 employees. The list goes on and on. I could continue reading them. This is where we stand at this point, and I want Amit Khemka to come in here legally. Amit Khemka, you're sitting right next to the young man who told us that he was harassed, he was fired and treated badly. Does our law allow for employers to treat employees in this manner?
Whatever this young man is saying is absolutely pathetic. But what is more pathetic is that we actually don't have a law. Our law is so funny. Take example of Industrial Disputes Act. Our courts have been giving judgments after judgments for last almost about 50 years. Who is a workman and who is not a workman? Now take the funny part, a foreman or a supervisor getting a salary of 30,000 rupees would be not a workman, while a pilot getting 5 lakh rupees as salary would be a workman. Now, these are the very funny things. For example, ESI, if you are getting salary of 21,000 and less, you will be covered in ESI. But if you get more than 21,000, you will not be covered in ESI. If a company does not have more than 10 people, that employees of that company will not be covered in ESI. The unorganized sector, it will not be covered under ESI or PF. Now, these are the very funny things. Every university, every institution, every department of the government, everywhere you have different laws. Now, here panelists before me said that company has to make HR policy. Why does not the government not make HR policy? These HR policy, at least for sectors, particular sectors, it can be same. Where is the requirement of the HR manager making HR policy? Why can't the law make HR policy? Why can't we have one unified law for the whole country? But nobody is bothered. And let me tell you, it is not only bad for the employees, it is bad even for the employers. If you go to the industry will also tell you that we are also not happy because the laws are not there. They are also not happy with the fluid situation. So the requirement is that all these politicians, rather than fighting each other, should sit together and make a comprehensive law for the whole country. Maybe there would be differences sector-wise, there would be certain variations sector-wise, but the basic law, the basic human facilities, the basic human rights, all those have to be safeguarded.
Yes. I want to bring in the other voices right now. Sanjay Jha, national spokesperson of the Congress party. It is true that the government needs to work on a policy, but that is an equal responsibility of both the current government and the previous government. Why don't we have a policy? Who's going to be accountable for the situation that we are in right now, Sanjay Jha?
See, Faye, let me tell you, there is no denying that job creation is a very crucial challenge for every government. You are aware that actually that was the plank on which President Trump won the elections in America. Now, look at the reality today, though. If you look at the news that has come in, the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy has released a data today that during January to April of this current year, this current calendar year, 15 lakh people lost their jobs. 15 lakh. How many jobs did we create in, say, 2015? 1 lakh. So when it was promised that 20 lakh to roughly 20 million jobs will be created year after year, what is in effect happening is that you are actually having people get unemployed. So the situation is actually getting from bad to worse. Now, I'll agree with Arvind. I have a lot of respect for Arvind when he says that the private corporate sector has to evolve its own HR policies and, not be callous and, absolutely cold in handling, terminations. But, it is the responsibility of the government to actually create an ecosystem for jobs. It is... Just a minute, sir. I'm saying the government of the day has a responsibility for creating an environment where you have growth on the ground and they are able to actually ensure that there is higher private capital investment, manufacturing jobs are created, services sector is booming, and the young of the country, the demographic dividend of this country, I'm hearing... I don't know whether it's an echo or what, but I'm hearing some voice there. But Faye, the point I'm making is it's a responsibility of the government to make sure that the young people of this country who are coming in roughly 1 million per month into the job market are getting jobs. That has not happened. So if you look at the data today, it's very disconcerting, and I will completely empathize with the individual in the Noida studio, because I'll give you an example. A very famous group the audio went viral, and the very famous business leader had to publicly apologize for the way the HR was actually sacking an employee and using a very, a very detached and extremely, I would say, virtually, unconcerned about the consequences of a job loss on an individual. I think if we are going to push our young people to suicide, that is a monumental statement of the failure of the government. Because if you are not going to be able to create investment or public expenditure, I think the young are going to face a very difficult circumstance.
I also want to point out. That TCS in its
we are seeing the manifestations of it already.
Right, TCS responded to queries about shutting down of its Lucknow center. This is what its response was. Take a look. Do we have the TCS response? All right, we're going to get to that when we do have the TCS response. Arvind Gupta, do you want to respond to that? Is it the responsibility of the current government, both job creation and protection of those people who do have jobs?
See, I think it's a responsibility of any government for that matter to protect anything that is correct. I mean, the lawyer brought out some labor laws, and whatever current laws that we have is, prevent the kind of the firing policies or the, instant firing policies that exist. I think one of the key points I would like to raise, and the lawyers should comment on that, is that when we are job seekers, the IT industry, and I've been an IT industry entrepreneur for 20 years, so I've run big industries in the IT sector. I can tell you two things that happen is when the employees themselves have regularly resisted, or whether it's the employees or the environments, the corporates and the employees together, of creating employee unions, if you may call, or federations, if you may call, and they've been outside the ambit of the traditional labor laws. And the BPO industry, the IT industry has always sought exemptions from there. It has worked mostly in the favor of the employees so far. If we are facing a negative growth, or maybe not a negative growth, not as high growth as before, I think the IT industry also needs to relook at, reinvent itself. There are laws that exist. Maybe the laws need to be relooked at. Nobody is going to deny that.
Amit Khemka, respond to that. Amit Khemka, respond to that. Someone has died. Someone has died. There is a young man who has taken his own life. I think we should treat this with more respect.
With very great respect for both the politicians on the panel, with very great respect for both of them, let me say one thing. See, the law is funny. Whatever law you have, it is actually funny. It is not a law at all. It is a counterproductive law. Why you people are not serious, sir, to change this law? At least have some good law. At least have some reasonable law. Question of which employee wants to go to a union? Who wants to make a union? Nobody wants to make a union. If you have a reasonable law, if you have a reasonable policy, if you have a uniform policy, if you have a system of solving the problems, so people will not like to go to streets. People will not like to go and make unions.
You believe that the current regulations or the current rules are pro-corporate and not pro-labor or pro-worker?
No, they are counterproductive for both. They are actually funny laws. I am using the word funny. I am a lawyer. I am practicing for 33 years. They are absolutely funny laws. I have given you the examples. How can you say a person earning 21,000 will be covered and 22,000 will not be covered in ESI? How can you say that? How can you say that a supervisor is not a workman? He is getting only 25,000 rupees as salary. He is not a workman. He does not get the protection of ID Act. You have a 5-tier dispute resolution mechanism in ID Act. You have totally confusing laws. The governments, both these I pray, please sir, both of you should sit down, put your heads together and work for it. Every department of this country, every university, every department, every public sector organization, everyone has different laws. Why should they have different laws? Everybody has a full compendium of laws in every organization. Why? Why government can't have one uniform policy?
Let me bring in the other voices right now. E. Raja, coordinator of the Forum for IT Employees, and this is where it is. A union of IT employees is now being formed across the country. Amit Khemka says if you have good laws, there will be no need to unionize workers. E. Raja.
Yeah, whatever happened, it's kind of every time the corporate will try to exploit the employees. So there should be a union, even though the laws are there, because to someone, each and every individual can't go and fight, even though they go by step. How long is the process? They go back. You know how Indian court works, right? So how long it takes to resolve the case. So each and everyone is asking for immediate solution for it. And without union, that doesn't gonna work out. Individuals can't fight each and every time, and they can be targeted easily, and they can be thrown out easily from that law.
Rituparna Chakraborty, the numbers that I read out of the people that are actually being laid off, are these numbers that you are familiar with? Are these numbers that you can corroborate for us from the ground?
I think there is something going on, and there is something which is unfortunate, and what's happened with the gentleman in the Noida studio is horrific, and do sincerely empathize with his situation. But side by side, we also need to bear in mind that this is the same IT industry which has provided opportunity for millions, and I think the kind of future or the kind of opportunities that it's provided to our youth has been phenomenal. So, but I think in this current situation, there are three people who needs to stand up and take accountability, and that includes the government, the enterprises, as well as society. From a government perspective, I think it's clear that we have to play a much more active role in terms of job creation. There has been too much pressure created or expectation from one industry. I don't think one industry can solve India's lack of job problem. I think we have to focus in terms of bringing about reform, especially around the labor laws, which I completely collaborate with my co-panelists, that we need to simplify our laws. Just to share with you, we have 47 central laws, we have over 150 state-specific labor laws. I don't know whether this complexity is required. OECD suggests that India is one of the most regulated labor market, yes, yet least protective of the employees. So why do we have so many laws which actually are not protecting the ones it's meant to be? So the 4 labor codes that is being much talked about, I hope that they come out and get discussed in the monsoon session, because that would probably create opportunities, job opportunities in other sectors. For example, manufacturing. I think engineers today become engineers in this country in any field, electrical, civil, electronics, computer, hoping that they'll get a job in the IT industry eventually. I think that's because the opportunities in any other field are not there in volumes, are not probably that attractive. So reform is required to be able to create plethora of jobs across sectors and across industries, so that the situation or the helplessness which we see in some of this youth probably would not exist. In terms of enterprises, I think we need to be far more empathetic towards the way we are going about the process. Of course, there is one part where we need to follow the statutory conditions of terminations or retrenchment. But besides that, we need to make it less bitter for them. We need to work out severances. We need to work out options by which they can go and reskill themselves, so that the intent is clear. Because, yeah, employment contracts cannot be treated like marriage without divorce, but it has to be made equitable and fair. And finally, society. If you notice, Faye, and finally the way we are bringing up our children, it is about go study so that you get good grades so that you can get into a great college so that you can get a good job with an IT company possibly. I think we need to make sure that our kids don't prepare themselves for ambiguity. They're able to create work for themselves.
Let me just bring in one more guest. Chris Lakshmikant joins us. He's the manager of Headhunters India. Chris Lakshmikant, there's a very serious problem of the lack of creation of jobs, and this is why it's happening. We haven't created any new jobs. So we have organizations right now who are removing people who they perceive as expensive and replacing them with inexperienced, less expensive people. This is actually what's happening in the country. Had we managed to create jobs in this sector or any other sector, then the fresh breed coming out of college wouldn't be replacing the experienced ones, and we wouldn't have such massive numbers of retrenchment right now. Would you agree, Chris Lakshmikant?
If you look at it, the IT sector, the BPO sector created 40 lakh jobs in the last 20 years, almost 20 years. No other sector in India, organized sector in India has created such large number of jobs. So this we should acknowledge has been happened because the IT sector, the BPO sector, they really worked and got the jobs in. Now this sector is facing challenges. People are going to be, according to the study I made, and it came out in April, May in the media, about 100,000 to 200,000 jobs will be lost in this sector in the next 1 year. That is by March of 2018, you will find that 100,000, maximum 200,000, it should not happen, I hope, will be lost. Primarily because of automation, primarily because things are moving into the cloud, primarily because of digital transformation. Now,
sir, how come the laws can understand automation and this thing? Now the so-called philanthropist is hiring 12th standard student and giving stipend to them and giving an MTech degree and all. 12th standard student is coming into IT industry. How can they perform?
Talking about this thing, I am only telling you what is the broad trend. Now, the point is whether people are, if you look at this year...
Okay. What is the answer for that?
Excuse me, please. I will
let Krish finish the point. Let Krish finish the point he's making. Krish, please continue.
If you look at it this year, the number of freshers being taken by industry will be half of what they took last year. What they took last year will be half of what they took in the year 2015. And next year, we don't know how many will be taken. So the point is, it is not the senior people being replaced by junior people or cheaper people, but the number of people itself is coming down. This is something we have to live with. The suicide, what you saw, there will be many more which may happen because we have seen farmer suicides. These are things which are going to happen and we have to live with it. What the government does, I do not know. Government cannot help in this sort of a thing, number one. Number two, if you take a law, all the laws of the land are being followed by these companies. They are not saying we will not pay you salary. They are not saying we will not pay you leave salary. They are willing to pay gratuity. They are willing to pay provident fund, everything they are paying. The point is, if you are an IT professional today, you are in the dowry market. That is, you will get a good...
Don't frivolize the problem. Don't frivolize the problem, Krish Lakshmikant. I know you have a lot of big companies right now that are your clients. But the reason why we are all gathered here today and having this conversation is because a 25-year-old IT employee attempted to slit his wrists 25 times in an attempt to take his life. And when he was unsuccessful, he jumped out of a window of a multi-story building to his death. That is why we are here. That is why we are here. And I beseech all of you to treat the situation with the gravity and the seriousness that it deserves. Now, to respond to what Krish said, he said two things. I don't know what the government can do. My response is, if that is the case, let us not come into power making promises of 1 crore new jobs. Let us not put that in our election manifestos if there is actually nothing the government can do in creating jobs. Point number two, you said, I believe these companies are actually paying all of their dues. I believe these companies are paying their PF and all of that. If that's the case, then why are these employees so distressed? We've had so many cases of people getting in touch with us saying they haven't been paid their dues. They have been threatened. They've been harassed. They've been told that if they complain to anybody, that they will be blacklisted from the IT industry and they will never get another job. These are the kind of strong-arm tactics and bullying that these companies are resorting to, and a lot of them are very large, very what you call reputed companies. Girish Mishra is on the phone line from Mumbai. Girish Mishra, go ahead.
Hey, hi, good evening. First and foremost thing is my condolences with the family, and my heart goes out with this youth who has lost his job. Now I'm hearing your debate and I'm actually surprised. Last 10 years, let's not blame government, last 10 years when disinvestment took place, one of the Navratna of government, okay, some private organization took it over and government people who were government employees were asked to go after some time. So this has been happening for a very long time. Now I am actually surprised because if you don't know the ground realities, okay, these youths are getting jobs. They have to move out of cities. They have to move out of areas where the comfort zone is. There's a lot of scopes in our country. But the core value of human resource has to come into the system, which is now basically doing admin job. If HR is training people, trying to find out where the weak areas are, it's not easy. People make organization. It is not easy to recruit a person. You recruit a person, that person works with you, you train that person, you invest in that person.
Okay. So all right. So you believe that what is happening is fair, Girish? Is that the point you're making?
Absolutely. If rather than politicizing this, if we stay on the area where the issues are,
right.
I'm telling you the jobs are there. People have to find the job.
Where will they find these jobs, Girish Mishra? Where will they find these jobs?
Fair, want to make a point.
There are a lot many youth who are driving Uber, madam. There are a lot many.
Okay, so you want these techies who are working in global IT companies to drive Ubers. All right, fair point. Sanjay Jha, go ahead.
Fair, let me make this point here. You know, I saw the data again interestingly today just before coming for your program. 80% of engineers in Gujarat are unemployed. In Uttar Pradesh, for government jobs, there were PhDs applying. Now, I'm not saying that this is the fault of just one government or another, but the truth is that you are today in a very difficult circumstance because of the fact that end of day, yes, there is automation, but if your private sector is not investing in new asset creation, you are not going to get jobs. And I think where the government fails, I think this is something that Arvind, I'm sure, will respond to me on this, where the government fails is in trying to create this whole imagery that everything is hunky-dory. It is not. I mean, end of day, if today in January to April, if 15 lakh have become unemployed, what have you done? I mean, at this point of time, we had to create roughly 600 lakh jobs between 2014 to 17. They haven't happened. But I think when you are living in a fool's paradise, I think, you know, we are living in this self-denial, delusional world that everything is great. So you have leaders making speeches that we are the fastest growing economy, everything is going to be fantastic in the next 6 months.
I just want to point out, Sanjay Jha, I just want to point out that going by what Rituparna Chakraborty told us earlier, that and what Krish said, 40 lakh jobs created by the IT industry. Over the last 10 years, we haven't diversified. We haven't encouraged other industries to create a similar number of jobs. We've been entirely dependent on the same industry. And now when that one industry is in distress, we find our entire nation in distress. Arvind Gupta, shouldn't the government do more? Shouldn't the government step in? I'm going to keep asking this question. Isn't it time for the government to step in?
Yeah, please. That's a very... I think there is multiple levels. The IT industry, if you heard the IT industry for so many years, they said they prospered because especially in the IT industry, the government interfered the least. That was the statement the IT industry always used to make. But having said that, let me make a few points which is very, very important. Number one, on the labor laws and the job protection, I think this is a sunrise sector for India. IT industry has contributed what, 120, 130 billion dollars, about 25% of export. I think we should take cognizance of the matter that this is an important industry. India produces about 800, 900,000 engineers a year, 8 lakh engineers a year. About 3-4 lakh of them depend on the IT industry, the BPO industry, to get meaningful jobs. I think more needs to be done, and if there is a relook in policy, the government has been very, very proactive in redacting old laws. I mean, 1270 old laws have been redacted. If there is a need, I can assure this, and I want to use this platform to say that we will make our best efforts to look into that. I'm giving that assurance right now. The other thing is, which is very, very important, which is from an industry perspective. I mean, there is Sanjay Jha here who's speaking about everything else but the IT industry. But let me tell Sanjay